in the last few years, right, what the Chiefs have been known for? Offense, right? Fireworks, firepower, right? And the Ravens, what are they known for? Defense, right? And right now, both teams are at kind of this weird phase, right, where offense isn't exactly like clicking for the Chiefs, and the Ravens' defense isn't clicking at all for them right now. And that's what they've been known for. And the Chiefs have been known for their offense. Right now, both these teams are kind of at this like meeting point where they're still trying to figure it out offensively and defensively. So it's very unique to both teams that they're kind of figuring out their this side of the ball really going into this game, which I think is very interesting. Interesting storyline for this one.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Both the Chiefs and the Ravens, and I will even say that, yeah, maybe one side of the ball does get a little bit more somewhat of an exposure. Everybody talks about more, but we know they're very prolific in both sides of the football. We know that. Chiefs has great defense. We should always give them their flowers because they just been doing a great job for the past few years and climbing up to being one of the best defenses in the league. And then also, too, same thing with Derrick Henry coming on to the Ravens. We understand that they have become a legitimate powerhouse on offense, not to mention the explosive plays and the brilliance of Lamar Jackson. So they've always been, guys that I know, especially when, look, we're talking about a playoff teams here, some of the best in the league. And so, yeah, their defense kind of gets a lot of, like the conversation and talk. But to be honest with you, I think that's the reason why we're talking about two playoff teams. They're very balanced in what they really. So
true. Well, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. So yeah, so with that, JD, I wanted to kind of like get into that. So Pat kind of talks about that a little bit today. And got some good sound bites from Pat's presser today. But the thing is with the Ravens defense, right? So we talked about, we know we have injuries with suspensions and stuff. We're still getting over with our receiving core, and then our running game, still trying to make that all click. But on the other side of things, when you look at the Ravens, right, the defense, they're struggling big time. We on Monday night during our show, this was going on the other side. They couldn't stop anything. Detroit was doing everything they wanted. And right now, the Ravens are giving up 32 points per game, which ranks 31st in the league. Ravens rank 32nd in total defense, 31st in points allowed. Their run defense is a mess, allowing 150 rushing yards per game, which is like third worst in the league. When it comes to third downs, opponents are converting almost 45% of the time against them. And this is the one that I really think is interesting, especially for a team we're not doing so hot in the red zone so far this year. But adding in red zone woes, they're giving up touchdowns on nearly 79% of red zone trips this year, which is just, they're giving up touchdowns on nearly 79% of red zone trips this year. So, yeah, but 80% of the time when teams get out there, they're scoring touchdowns, which is huge for us because we're kind of stalling when we get to the red zone as of right now. So it might be a big thing for us to kind of exploit. And then the big thing for me is when I saw today that Metabike is probably not going to play this weekend. Kyle Van Noy is a DNP, so he's kind of up in the air. They only have 3 sacks in the season, so they were one of the top teams in sacks last year. They're not really getting the quarterback. And I'll say this for us, who we've been kind of, our fan base has kind of been, disappointed in how many sacks we've had on the quarterback. We have 7. So, we're doubling with the amount of sacks they've had this season, and that's a huge thing. But Pat talked today about the offense and how he wants to see us kind of click, and we are clicking even more and more each week. So this is Pat today.
This last defensive line that we played had all type of first rounders, all type of talent, and I thought the offensive line did a great job of giving me time to throw the ball down the field. And it's my feet, you tell, are a little bit more calm because I understand that these guys can protect and they can give me time to make these throws, and I'll continue to get better and better at that and try to make some of these throws more accurate down the field, and instead of hitting 1 to 2 a game, making that 3 to 4 and then 5 to 6, and then defense will back up and it'll help us out with other stuff within the offense. And so I'm just excited for where this offense is going. I know it hasn't been the perfect product that we've put out there so far, but there's a lot of good too.
So, JD, what are your thoughts? What Pat to say about how the offense is starting to come into form a little bit here?
I mean, I think I had the same sentiment, a couple of weeks ago. Just going to take some time, and then of course, what you have to do is once you take an assessment of everything that you see on film, it's all about correction, and you correct issues and the problems that was definitely hamstringing you. And so what we would do, we would stall on drives, whether it would be offensive line, maybe not necessarily giving Pat enough time to throw the football, but also too, some of the tempo that how we were running was a little bit different. And of course, our running game hadn't really been something that was, primary to the things that we did. What we seen was when they started the second half, they tried to implement that a little bit better, Marcus, and we were successful in doing that. So part of what I think Pat is saying, and he's recognizing too, not only him, but also the coaches and also the offensive line is that's a formula that works. It does. That's a recipe for success. My lady says she's overcooking spaghetti. I told the pot, look, he's doing the pot. That's what Pat's doing, right? He's in there in the cooking. The Bonnie Green Bean, you said you put that hood spaghetti on. Hey, Pat is putting this thing together. And so he knows he needs those ingredients around him to make this thing right. And so what we started doing is we wanted to make sure, okay, when I say we talking about the Chiefs, we wanted to make sure we needed to get everybody involved. Guess what? All of a sudden, we're not throwing 10 passes or having 15 targets to Hollywood Brown, okay? Juju Smith-Schuster got a bigger role than what he was doing. We see Nico Remigio coming in. And how we forget about Tyquan Thornton going down, stretching the defense, right? 6'2", going up, getting the football, catching the ball every way possible. These are the things that we want to be able to see. And so that's what our offense looks like more so than anything else. And so what we had to do is we had to change a lot of what, at least what we thought it was going to be, right? We was up in the air with Rashid Rice, didn't know if he's going to be at the first of the season, but we still had to practice with him just to make sure, just in case if he's still in there, we got to play him. Then all of a sudden, Xavier Worthy gets hurt, third play of the game, of the season, really. And all of a sudden, he's out. So there's been some changes to what we had to do offensively. But I still believe that the formula still works. You got to establish the run. Okay, you got to have the right tempo. You got to get guys involved who are capable to do things and give them just a bigger, a piece of the pie. And so Pat understands that. So are they gelling together? Yes. Do we understand what's going to take some time? Sure. And so when I said patience to everybody, that's what it means. When you're putting that together, a good stew or whatever, it takes patience, right? I said that, a little basil juju in here, okay? Now we got a little time of Tyquan Thornton thrown in, okay? Get the jalapeno and a little bit of Hollywood Brown and those things in there, okay? We making it just nice, all right? And so what we do is we use a little bit more of a seasoning, okay, with some of that Isaiah Pacheco, right? Some of that Hunt's marinara, if you want to, if you will, right? And so when we're sitting there talking about this, I'm getting hungry while I'm talking and speaking this way. But our offensive line is actually getting better too. That's one thing you got to be able to do. Our offensive line has got to be able to gel together. We said this, Marcus. The game is won up front, okay? So how our offensive line does up front is going to be very, very predictive on what we're going to look like offensively. And so being able to get, Patrick some time to throw the football helps out a lot. Being up the holes for our running backs helps out a lot. So those guys in that room had to get it together because what they do, getting themselves together, helps out everywhere else. And our defense has just been doing a masterful job for the past couple of weeks. And hopefully this week coming in, we're going to see the same thing with the Ravens, stopping them. So, and look, let's just be honest here, okay? The Ravens have gone up against two juggernauts of offenses, and this is a third, okay, in 4 weeks, all right? That's what they're looking at. And so when we're dealing with this, they're not out here dealing with chopped liver. They went against Cleveland, okay, we know that. But the Bills, right, they never lost their game. Should never lost their game. But, hey, Detroit, we know what Detroit does. Those running backs up there, tight ends, wide receivers, I mean, all those guys up there eat. So we knew it was going to be a tough task for them. They just need to stop somebody. And they haven't been able to do it. So what I love about this is since they are not stingy in the red zone, hopefully we take advantage of it this week. So.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that stands out to me, like throughout that press conference he talked about, and Andy also talked about it too, was that, being without Worthy, being without Rashid Rice, It allows Pat to get chemistry with guys like Tyquan Thornton. It allows Pat to get chemistry with Hollywood Brown. It allows Juju to be more acclimated in the offense. It's giving those guys who probably, like I say, weren't going to have opportunities. They were going to have less opportunities when Rice and Worthy came back, but it's allowing him to make kind of those guys feel confident, in the offense, and also make Pat feel comfortable that he can trust these guys. And you're seeing that, right? You're kind of seeing that kind of relationship grow and chemistry would grow with all three of those guys. And then him also in that clip that we played, talking about calm feet. Because everyone always talks about, getting chemistry with your receivers and skill players. Like you've mentioned before, it's getting chemistry with your offensive linemen, how important that is, especially when you have the right side, yes, all those guys on the right side have been there before, but the left side is completely new. And he's finally understanding that, hey, I actually have a dude on the left side. I don't need to bail out of the pocket. I can hang in here a little bit longer. And Kingsley's getting better each snap, each day. So he's learning that he can be calm in the pocket now. And that's something that over the last few years, you couldn't really do that, especially coming from the left side. So hearing him say calm feet, I thought was a huge thing to hear Pat say.
Well, that's what they was working on in camp, right? Nagy said they was going back to the fundamentals, and that's important. That way you're just not rushing everything. And so with some of the errant throws we see in Patrick off time into Travis Kelce, and now Travis, he can't catch. What's wrong with Travis? And everybody. Pat's like, man, maybe it's me. Part of it's just a quiet feet of us just connecting. It's all timing. And so I was watching documentary last night. It was fabulous. I only got the first episode, and I guess it was like Chris Hemsworth was doing these challenges and whatnot. So he was like learning the drums. It was very intriguing because the time he had to do the drums, you knew he had to like put a lot of time and practice into this, right? And so the days that he didn't put the time in, then he was off key. The tempo wasn't right, and it didn't even matter. Like the connection's not there in your head. You want it to be there, but guess what? Sometimes these things are going to be off until he actually got to the point where it just figures it out. And I hope him and Travis got on the same page where they just figure this thing out. And it's for them, it's just like riding a bike. But if it's little things, okay, because this is what football requires. Football requires that everybody's on the same page. Football requires that you have the timing down to get the ball out of your hand. Football does require patience from the running backs, but also the wide receivers. Everybody's got to be in their place, and everybody's got to do their job. So you got to be at the right place at the right time to get the ball delivered to you the right way. That's the way it works. Now, we understand that Patrick does just a tremendous job being able to make plays with his feet and just do just amazing things, right? That no other quarterback out there can do. That's, I think nobody disputes that, okay? But sometimes those plays, because you get so used to doing those things, like the things that you should be doing well, like the easy plays, you might wane a little bit, like, yeah, I just needed that right there. So, yeah, man, I think, man, if we get to the point, and this is really for offensively, until we get the whole gang back, we just got to hold the fort down. That's what it's got to be. And the better we get at doing it now, Marcus, how much more dangerous we're going to be. They're going to be seeing us, right? When Rashid Rice comes back, and everybody's already firing on all cylinders. Same thing with Worthy and all those other guys, Jalen Royals. And we ain't even seen the full gamut of what we got. They ain't even got a load of us yet. So this is something, man, like when we other guys are getting opportunities, okay, like Tyquan Thornton and those guys, shoot, it's just going to make us better.
100%. And that's the thing, too. I know everyone just talks about Rashid Rice and Xavier Worthy. We haven't Jalen Royals. We haven't even get to see him yet, and he was an active, full participant in practice today. So we're getting close to seeing the Rook coming out and doing his thing as well. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.